Hey, what's up, everyone? We're here. Um, and we're doing this. Thanks for being here for office hours. Let me introduce the guest today. Here's Ben,
Hey, we made it on, man.
and then here's Brandon. What's up, Brandon?
Hey guys, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing pretty good.
I like that Brandon has his airline headset on today, but I don't think your audio's coming through.
I
Yeah.
know it's coming through this other mic.
Oh, look at you with your little mic.
Okay. Okay. I like that.
Uh,
So
what's up, Trey?
nothing. Get rid of that. Boom. All right. Well, so Brandon, everyone's met Ben before. Ben, I like the new studio look. That looks good.
Well, look, we have to set the stage for what's happening today because Audion is, we're 110 percenters and it's 110% today around here. And so there's like training going on right now in the bullpen. We have a broadcast this morning and they're like, oh, we got to get on with Trey. And so we're scrambling to like set up because we're still in the studio build. So I apologize for like the not 110%, but like we wanted to make sure we made it on today to get it done. So, but thank you for noticing that we put a little, some light up.
I know. I love that. All right. And then we have someone we haven't met before, but who works at Audion. Brandon, what's going on?
Hey, how's it going? See, I got two mics. I can do this. This is just a dummy mic, and then the real mic is right here because we got tons of mics here at Audion just waiting to be used.
Okay. I love it. Do you want to give us a quick introduction to like who you are and how you ended up at Audion, or like who
Sure.
are you? Who are you, sir?
Well, I'm still trying to figure that out, but I've been working in video production for 30 years, and I don't know. I guess right now I'm an executive producer, and I help put on the shows we do here, help organize it, help execute it, help get the right people involved, and make sure that we, from start to finish, that we deliver what we're intending for our clients, and that everybody's pleased at the end.
Okay, awesome. And what? Sorry, I kind of like looked over. I was doing the producer thing where I looked over at the stream, and I looked back at you, and I kind of lost track.
Well, I was just talking about myself, Trey. That happens every time I tell you something about myself.
He
It's
glazes over.
Yeah, you're thinking about something else. No, I think this is relevant to the talk today, though. Is that I don't know, the last 30 years, I remember getting my first non-linear editing station, and I had a Miro capture card, and I thought it was the coolest thing. I could take the
Okay.
video, and before that we were doing a lot of linear editing or film editing, and I mean, I should mention that we did film transfers together 25 years ago,
That's true.
and
At a place that no longer exists.
I know, and stuff's come a long way. It's just I feel like people get into it now. They probably think that some of the things that we went through in the trials we did were like easy or archaic, or like, why would you do it that way?
Yeah.
But that's all easy to say in hindsight. Like back then, we were transferring from in the video, like the digital video realm. We were doing a lot of linear editing, which basically means lining up your sources, playing them back in real time, making cuts in real time, and that Miro desktop capture card I got was the first time I could capture video, store it on a hard drive, and then trim it as I wanted to.
Instead of the two VCRs that you were just cutting.
Yeah, or multiple sources with a recorder at the end, and that was a big leap. And
Yeah,
so,
I did you like I remember the first videos I edited, I didn't actually edit. I would edit while I was shooting. You'd be like, okay, I want to do this scene and then this scene.
yeah,
It's very
you have to be thoughtful about what you're doing. I mean, in a different way now. I mean, that's my gripe with DPs now is they're like, fix it in post, or like, don't worry about these settings, like we'll dial it in later, and that's hard as a producer or a director if you're or the client too. If you're watching something, you're like, okay, well, it doesn't look right now, but it's going to look better later. And I think that's difficult sometimes to see the vision or to make sure that it's that what you're filming or producing is to the vision that you've outlined, previously, or in your the sessions that you have developing whatever product you're going to make.
Trey, before we get like super deep into like data storage and recovery and stuff, I want to get Brandon to talk a little bit about like file structure and storage, because that is something that I was never, until we were kind of all together and doing this all together. It's still a big weak thing for me, even with just basic stuff, much less video files. But Brandon's over the years has developed a really good system for offloading files, storing files, recalling files, and then even so far as the tape backup. I mean, you're still pushing stuff to tape at some point, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that too. I think depending on what lens you look, people can think of that as archaic, but a lot of people are not dealing with the file sizes that we are, and whether or not you're having your files offline or online, not being online necessarily on the web like a cloud-based storage, but just online as in you have direct access to them, because archiving is definitely a whole field of data storage that is often overlooked. That's very important, especially in running a small, medium, or a large-scale business. I think a large business has, or a big business has, can afford, or with the amount of people and personnel and work structure or workers they have, to deploy a larger data storage system, or have professionals in-house that only do data storage. And of course, as a small company, you have to be pretty nimble, and you have to do a lot of those things in-house, or wear a lot of hats. But to like going back to 30 years, is that first time you're capturing footage and you're storing it on the computer, you start to realize that it is a totally different realm of workflow. And all of a sudden, instead of having your media on tapes, which at that time you still had tapes, and we're talking about tape backup here, but you were, instead of storing a file structure, you were storing digital media in whatever format that was, DV, or in the case of the Miro card, it was storing onto the computer, onto a file, and you realize that hard drive, you maybe had like 100 gigabyte hard drive or something like that, something super small.
Yeah, it was small back then.
And you had to, like, I remember thinking, like, God, the first couple settings I had, it took up all the space in the hard drive. And then I started talking about, well, what's compression? It leads to a lot of different things, including the file naming conventions, where it's stored, how you store your folders. I mean, one of the most depressing moments of my life, I still think about this, is when I had finished weeks of editing. I had all this, the whole tape archive of this event I was filming, and I put it all on the computer. I transferred it from tape, had it all organized into a folder, and I had edited it, pulled in the sources, had made this, what I thought was probably, I mean, now that it's gone, I might as well be the most masterful video I've ever produced. It was timed up to music in all the right spots. It was awesome. It was a sporting event. And I went to render out the final video, and it was taking forever, taking longer and longer. And it just kept getting like, I feel like it started slowing down slower and slower. And then I started hearing clicks in the hard drive.
Oh, you had a physical failure of the hard drive?
The hard drive failed while I was rendering out the final. And it's like, as soon as a hard drive starts to fail, it's like diminishing returns. At that point, you need to stop what you're doing and probably start archiving as much as possible then, or stop it all together and send it to the lab where they can take the platters off.
Which now everything's on SSDs and,
Sure. And these are problems of yesteryear. That's what I'm saying. It's like part of the thing.
You should talk a little bit, Brandon, about because I would imagine that most of the people that are watching this, or most of the people that would be interested in this, would be probably like single shooters or an in-house person that's like doing content generation or content creation, or a content creator, like I know that the tools that I use as like not nearly as skilled as you guys are, and you know, the stuff that we do for social or whatever, I'm shooting on my phone, right? Or I'm shooting on, you know, a GoPro, or I'm shooting on an Osmo, and then I'm offloading files somewhere. What advice do you have for these like single shooters or people that are getting content from, you know, off all these cards? Like, how should they be compiling that stuff, holding that stuff together? Just talk about some best practices there, because I think that's probably the most useful for people that are trying to watch this or figure this out. It's like, what do I do with all this data? How do I put it together? What's the best way to store it? Does everybody need a RAID array? Can people just have a couple of hard drives loose? Like, do you back up to the cloud? Like, what do you think is the best thing to do if you're a single shooter out there doing that kind of content?
Well, I think that there's a lot of answers to that question. I would say the difficulty now is, and it will be increasingly difficult, I feel like, is having ownership of your files. Most platforms want to push you, and for ease of use, to cloud storage, which I think for most things is an amazing, I don't know, advent in working in project management, is that you can be collaborative, you can share files real easily. The downside of that, of course, is that somebody else has control of your files. And I have a big problem with that. Of course, I'm talking about going back 30 years and having these hard drives crash, and that's not as much a problem anymore. But what is a problem is figuring out where all your files for a project are, how to organize all your files. Now you can shoot a video with your phone really easily, and it looks amazing. That video is probably backed up to Apple servers or Google servers, and then it's stored by usually a naming convention that they've pre-described, or in folders where you may not know where it's stored. It's maybe just on your phone, and you got to figure out a way to pull that into a project. And there's ways of editing on your phone now and delivering really easy, but from start to finish, you may never actually know where your files are. And that's not problematic if you're like just doing cool projects for fun or showing to your friends, but at a professional level, it becomes more difficult.
Well, for client recall, I mean, Trey, you see this all the time. When you go to update sizzle reels for clients, they'll ask you for something that we shot 3 projects ago, and you've got to go find that data, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
it is everywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think what I would want to say is, like, what's best practice if you're out in the field and you're doing a shoot? Like, let's say you're doing a single camera shoot. It's just sort of a commercial type shoot where you're showcasing something. Like, what would you recommend for backing up footage in that case, or
sure. Well,
offloading footage
on a commercial shoot too? You, especially now, because we've moved from tape to digital media. Now it's cloud storage for some phones, but for on a professional shoot, you'll have higher end cameras, and they're recording. You pull out of the kind of prosumer level or even the consumer level, and you're using equipment and you're using data storage at a greater, at a kind of a higher level. You're using tons more space because the footage you're recording are in high-end cameras where the data rate is super high, and you want that footage to be at a high level in order to give your clients the quality and control that they expect and need. And so if you're recording 1 or 2 cameras, like we often are recording multiple cameras in a shoot, but even if it's just 1 camera and you're recording an Ultra HD project now, which is kind of a standard,
for sure.
or even higher, maybe 6K or 8K, or shoot, higher than that if you're, depending on the project, you're talking about terabytes of data.
So much.
So cloud storage becomes more difficult. Also, I mean, I have a problem with ownership of data anyways, but not only in terms of organization, but where your data is stored, how it's controlled, and ultimately how you run your projects efficiently in terms of being able to deliver, or, you know, like you're talking about rehashing projects or bringing footage to make new things, because that content is key in being able to use them all. So from a small producer's perspective, you know, on small commercial shoots, I still would advocate for having a DIT or a professional who's in charge of your transfers. And, you know, a lot of times that media, we're moving to just flash media like SSDs and really fast portable memory solutions. But of course, those fill up real fast, and then you have to implement larger solutions. Well, those larger solutions may be in an array form, like a RAID array, and then those have problems too, because if part of one of the disks goes out, or you, God forbid, someone moves stuff around on a desk, like Ben does, because he wants it to be organized, and all of a sudden your drive goes offline while you're transferring.
But I think the takeaway from this on it is that like physical backups are still paramount. Like you still got to have your data somewhere.
Yeah. Do you still walk away from a shoot with all your data on 2 different storage places? So that if like
we
is
do
that still standard?
Yeah.
That's what. Yeah.
Yeah, I think by the time after the shoot, I feel like redundancy is key too. We've never lost a project. We've never completely lost. We've had to use backups because
so
of
I think that needs to be repeated, because you're talking about 20 years, 2006, I guess ish. We have not lost a project.
Well, I'll tell you this: is
Pretty
some of it goes back to
That's
the anecdote I
crazy.
gave.
Tens of thousands of projects. I mean,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
I mean, I was talking about that hard drive going out. The reason I bring that up too in the beginning is because I think that's been fundamental to my paranoia about having redundancy, especially at a professional level. I don't know what I would tell a client if if a project was lost, and I'd make up some excuse. I don't know. I wouldn't make an excuse. I would just say that we wouldn't have done the standards or up to our standard.
Yeah.
I don't know. A failure would have happened that was so gross that
All right, so then you get. Oh yeah, what's that?
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, you get the data home or to your office or wherever you're working.
The 2 copies of the data.
Yeah.
So-
What do you do then?
Well, so even copying the data, I think is difficult. Not difficult, but I think we use software to. You can do it in the Windows shell or the Apple shell too, but we use programs like Offshoot to ensure that copies are made at 100% bit to bit. It does an MD5 hash check on the data after it's done, so that we are ensured that we get a 1-to-1 copy of all that data. And then when you're back at your facility and you're going to offload it onto your bigger storage arrays, organization is paramount there. Did you copy the files? Also, in the media game, you have to be certain. I mean, nothing is worse than finding media that has not, you don't know if it's been copied or not. And then you go check it. Is it the same version or not? If you didn't clear it, are you going to format your drives? Are you sure about it? Are you sure you copied your footage?
That's actually like, even though I know I have everything copied, I just hate deleting stuff.
Oh, it's so stressful.
And then I have a card and I'm like, well, did I really double check to make sure I backed everything up?
Yeah, it's funny watching Brandon's really instilled in everybody here, like all these guys here, how important it is when you're on site to take those cards, make a copy, get it onto a hard drive. You've got the cards, you've got the hard drive, come back to the office, dump media as soon as you get back in. Like it's a religion around here to make sure that all that data comes back and is secure. And I would tell anybody that's just starting out and doing this, like if you start now and make that a practice, then it just becomes second nature and you're not like having to figure it out down the road, or you don't wait for a catastrophe to build that system in. They're like, oh, I just lost all this. Maybe I need to do something about it. Like figure out how to store your data.
One thing I do stress too when we're leaving the job site, especially the new employees or contractors and clients that are new to the industry, is that when you leave that shoot, whatever it is, commercial, it can be industrial. When you leave that shoot and you have that footage you've worked so hard to do, you maybe months of planning, scripts, whatever it is, that storage you hold in your hand is all of it's the accumulation or an amalgamation of all the money, all the cameras, all the stuff you've thrown into it, and so that becomes the most valuable piece that you take away from a shoot. And then what do you do with it? You got to, I pick the hard drives that we use because they're enterprise grade hard drives. And the storage arrays are secure, so you can lose 1 or 2 drives. And you have to have enough space. I mean, sometimes SSDs aren't as practical for large storage. Or we're talking about tapes. So archival tapes. So those tapes last 40 years.
An SSD is not going to last 40 years.
No, yeah, a spinning hard drive has to be spun regularly.
Yeah.
Just like a car has to be run. It's got moving parts. It's got
Well,
grease.
we have stuff where I feel like clients could ask us for a file from 2006, and I guarantee you Brandon could go pull the file from 2006.
For sure. We have
and
a client that we've been doing stuff with for 15 years. And I have all, I mean, to a detriment. I mean, I think some were like, hey, can you delete that stuff? I mean,
They don't want it anymore.
but because the technology's changed too, but I want to be able to have that flexibility for our clients. But also it allows us to have this breadth of data,
Yeah.
and to be able to pull together like the way that some of our clients have changed over the years, and to make new projects with all that stuff. I love having access to the old
Well,
files.
I will tell you, it's become part of my sales pitch, and Trey, I think I said this, when we were talking about something else, that like, when I go in to talk to clients, I tell them that, we maintain this data in perpetuity and that we've got it. And if you need it. So I want to do two things because I know we started a little bit late, but one, that leads really in good to what I think that a lot of people are looking at is a lot of these AI tools. And I don't want to get into them today because we don't rely on those very heavily here. I know there's a lot of stuff out of there, but I know that a lot of the single shooters and a lot of those guys, like you're relying on that, whether it's editing dialogue to make your cuts or do whatever. But next week, there's somebody I want to get on, and I just want to put a plug for that. That's been an editor for 20 years out in LA that does nothing but reality TV and deals with tons of dialogue and tons of clips and tons of stuff. And so he's going to kind of help us get into some of that stuff about some of the AI tools. But Trey and I, we were talking about how important it is now to get those transcriptions after a shoot and maybe start including those in your project files or in your project folder so that you've got your transcriptions there. So if you do need to go back and find something, you can do it without having to lean super heavy on some cloud AI software to do that. The other thing I want to do, because I'm going to have to get off right at 12:30, is I love the idea of the biggest data horror story, because I feel like that's the zinger here. Ooh. And mine, I feel like is great because I pride myself on, I don't know, man, being fairly responsible dude and not screwing up and not, also like, I don't make people mad very often. And also Brandon doesn't get mad. I mean, him, Trey, he doesn't get angry. We were on site at a shoot once. I am very particular about tech tables and about how stuff is set up, how equipment is on a table. I don't like cups out on the table. I don't like open things. I don't like things messy on a tech table. It's bad for client. It's bad practice for you. It looks sloppy. I don't like it. It's a big pet peeve of mine. Brandon was doing transfers and he had a hard drive on the table that was, it was fine, but he's like, don't touch this drive, because he knew that it was the cable might have been a little janky or something. And the hard drive was in a spot that just did not meet my strict criteria for where I wanted it to be. And I went and moved it and just destroyed the whole, and Brandon I've never seen him. He got red. He was like, I told you not to touch that. I was like, I'm so sorry, dude. But I felt terrible, man. I was just like melting because it was just such a dumb thing. Like there was no reason for me to do that other than it annoyed me, and I completely blew it. So
wait, so did you guys lose all of that footage?
No, I think he got it back, but
it
was
client gone, money, business.
Wait,
over.
no, but I'm curious. Like, how did you? What was?
I think he rebuilt the data. It took a long time, and I was super embarrassed.
Or did you pull it? Did you pull it off the cloud? Because I know that
This was before cloud storage.
Oh, you weren't streaming it, and you couldn't pull it off the stream?
No, I didn't have a server backup. I don't think at that time. This was on a Wowza server, and we didn't have the backups there like we do on some of the other stuff. So,
oh my gosh,
this is a longer conversation too, because I remember file format of the drives that you're using matters. Now, some of these things, when cloud-based computing, I think a lot of people lose that someone else is managing it and all these things, and it's kind of lost in the ether. But when you're doing it yourself, all these things matter. Naming convention, how you organize your folder structure, your project folders, the file formats that you record in, the format of the drives you're using. I mean, when you plug these storage into cameras,
put thought into all of it. Yeah,
it all matters. And I think that you can spend a whole day talking about data storage, but I think that for small producers and small offices, you got to get your team on board, and you got to act professional and responsible with this stuff, because it is the most valuable thing that you leave a shoot with. And your clients are counting on you to be responsible and to deliver those projects. And the core of it, I think a lot of people don't like it because, if you're a camera guy, you're an audio guy, you care about those things.
Yeah.
People don't, they're not like, oh, I want to get into the industry to be a DIT professional. Like, most of them are like, oh, nerds doing the computer stuff.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
Ultimately, they become very valuable. And that technology component is very valuable to how you manage your business and how you deliver your projects.
All right, well, let's say bye to Ben, and then I have a few more questions for you.
Yeah, you should run a little long if you have to, because it's not often that he gets on to answer this stuff. And I feel like this is really where Brandon shines on this stuff. If you can get him succinct on some of this stuff, it's good. It's good stuff, because honestly, man, this is the stuff that makes all the difference in the world. These are the things we were talking about last week, like our designers doing walkthroughs with clients and really getting down to the minutia and the detail of events. This is the crux of our entire business, is walking away with all of that work and making sure that we can deliver it. It is 110% absolutely hands down the most important thing you can do, is to secure that data, make sure you have it, and then you can worry about how efficient your workflow is. Then you can worry about whatever else. But the security of your data on site and in transport and when you get back, to me, is everything. And we are super fortunate that we have Brandon in that capacity, because he is religious about that stuff and has instilled all of that in us. So take what you will from that. Thank you for having me once again.
Thank you, Brandon.
Yeah, I will see you guys next week. But y'all stay on. I'll see you guys later. All right, bye.
See you, Ben.
See you later, Ben. Finally, never thought he'd leave.
I know. You guys are just so chatty.
No, okay. So the thing as an editor that I wanted to talk to you about is, like, how did you come up with, like, you get all the data home, you get it all backed up, it's in your hard. Yeah. Well, why don't you kind of explain, like, what does Audion do, or like as a post-production facility where there's like several people accessing data, like, how did you decide, how did you set that up, and why?
Well, I think it's looking at it from being able to deliver whatever the project is to the client, back to how you're managing the post-production too. So what are the goals? What are the challenges? What are the milestones to get the project done and delivered to the client? And of course, editing is a big thing of what we do here. And so, we operate as a team, and the team needs access to the files. And we need to store them in an efficient, fast, speedy way that's safe, and is accessible. So in terms of the online storage, we get back from a shoot, say we have 2 secure copies, and we get back to the office. Well, the office is like home base for our data storage and data retention program. And so we'll, of course, copy it to, we have a network attached storage, which is very popular now. The direct attached storage is great for one person. If you're working with multiple people, of course, networking and network attached storage is usually what people are talking about. You can do fiber channel and iSCSI and a couple other direct storage ways, and you can share those. We use a Samba-based network here, and we access files cross-platform, usually on a PC or a Mac, from the storage array. And so we'll get back, we'll dump storage to the RAID array. The RAID array is backed up itself, and the RAID is a double redundancy RAID array, and where it's you can lose up to 2 drives before you start losing data. And the way a RAID works is your data is spread across multiple hard drives. Can be dozens, can be hundreds, and you're sharing the speed and capacity of all those drives. And so we do that here. And of course, folder and file organization is paramount in a team environment. Your team's got to be able to understand and locate where files are. And from there, you can, it all comes down to efficiency and being able to deliver what you need to deliver. And if your team if you have 4 or 5 people working on it, how you split apart the roles and duties that need to get done, and how you all have access to the same files. In terms of collaboration too, like if you're working with multiple editors, there are a lot of really great cloud-based solutions for teamwork in the editing process as well, including client involvement. We briefly talked about AI in the
Yeah.
post-production structure, but some of that has come a long way, and it allows the clients to be more involved. I mean, I always like, especially with the stuff that we do, involving the clients as much as possible because I want them to get what they're expecting, and they rely on us for a lot of things, and some of the times they'll say, I don't know, what do you suggest? But a lot of times they are opinionated, or they know their field, whatever we're producing, because we produce videos for myriad fields, or professions. Oftentimes, like if we're doing something for an engineering group, I don't know the details of the engineering. I need their input on.
Yeah, they need to watch it to let us know like what's important.
Yeah. I can tell them the best way to deliver it, or if a script read was good, or if it sounds off. But in terms of like if it gets, especially with corporate or industrial film and video,
that content we have to produce so much footage and so many videos that we don't really understand the content very well. It requires them to be the experts and to watch it.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking even in a different scenario where it's not about a profession, it could be in a foreign language, for instance, because we do a lot of stuff in Spanish and English, and I'm not a native speaker, and I'm still working on it, but I can understand a lot of it, but I need a native speaker to double check it to make sure that that all the reads are good, and of course it passes through several levels before it's finalized to make sure that it's perfect. But anyhow, collaborating has never been easier. But again, if you take the tools for granted or you mess up one portion of it, it can tank your project.
So true. I mean, there's nothing scarier I'm sure for both of us than the idea of you spent all the time and effort to do the shoot. You did the shoot. It was awesome. You backed everything up on site. You get it home, and then for whatever reason, something happened, and you would lose it. Like it is. So one of the first projects I did when I was young is I was working on a documentary, and we had a really we did have a very precise way of storing everything, including putting hard drives into a safe at night that was supposed to be smoke free or like impervious to smoke. And you're like, oh man, that's so anal. So someone who I was like an assistant editor, someone else was doing it, and they didn't close the door properly on the safe, and there was a fire in the building, and everything was ruined because the door to the safe for the hard drives wasn't properly closed, and the all of the footage got smoke destroyed. And I was like, what the hell? That is crazy.
Dang.
I know.
One thing.
Yeah, so that is like the worst nightmare, I guess. That is like you were saying, like the hard drive having a physical failure, which that doesn't happen very often, but when it does, it sticks with you forever. Like that is stuck with me. I'm like, oh my gosh. That's great. And I think that's probably why cloud storage, even though it is so expensive, is appealing, because you're like, man, if something happened to my physical site, it's on the cloud.
Yeah, sure. Well, we do site-to-site transfers in backups. But yes, having like basically the peace of mind of cloud storage is that it's stored in 2 or 3 places at all times. Of course,
you just have to, I feel like you just have to, like, it is so expensive. You have to down res the quality quite a bit. For sometimes, like I always do proxies of almost all of my shoots and export them to Frame.io, both so that the client can see them and watch them. And it's still a high quality. It's just not as high of quality. But also, like, if anything were to ever happen, all of my raw files are there with, like, synced up audio. So I could go back and re-edit stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's while you're actively working on a project, I think that is great. And cloud computing can be, I think you just have to think about it intelligently, knowing that you're not going to be able to store, 100 terabytes of data into some other platform's cloud computing. You can invoke, you can create your own cloud storage between servers, or like between a Houston office and an Austin office.
Oh, that's like us.
Yeah.
That's like us, buddy.
In that way, you're not having to pay Dropbox or Frame.io thousands of dollars a month. I mean, if you're talking about hundreds of terabytes, it starts to add up pretty quickly.
Yes.
And it's also your files. Like, we have a 2 gigabit connection here at the Audion office. It's pretty fast, but it's not as fast as a 25 gigabit fiber network, which is what we're running here. And so we can access the files at a really fast speed. And when you're talking about 6K footage, or you're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4 streams of overlapping video, that data rate really comes into play. Proxies are great because you can lower the data rate and make that type of editing environment work. But as fast as the internet is, it's still going to be problematic if you have 100 terabytes stored online and you're trying to access a lot of it in one project. I mean, if you're shooting 6K video and you have 3 cameras up rolling at in a RAW format or a 444 QuickTime format, you're taking up just so much space, and if you're editing that and you're drawing in 4 streams at once, cloud-based, you're not going to take, you'll use those proxy files and you'll have to compress them into a data rate that makes sense. There's ways to do it, and there's ways to do it efficiently. But again, it goes to your business model, and it goes to your efficiency, and ultimately just about being able to deliver the product in an efficient way to your client.
Okay, so I think we haven't even broached as much of the subject as I want, but it's time for us to go. So
just tell me when. I could talk all day about it, buddy.
Will you come back on and whenever you have some free time to talk about this? Like maybe we can do it every 6 weeks, every 8 weeks.
Yeah, is this I've just never been invited before.
Oh, you're always invited.
Uh-huh.
Kind of like you're always invited to my house. You've just never been there.
Well, I'd be honored to be back on.
Okay. All right. Everybody, thanks for watching. And we hope that you have a good time this weekend. I hope you learned something. And I'm going to go ahead and play our little office hours logo.
See y'all next time.
All right. Bye. Let's see if it plays. Here we go. All right. See you later, Brandon. I'm going to hide you. Bye.